Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Devin Thomas back with another episode of Unscripted. Hello, how's everyone doing? It's been another busy week here, banging out pods, chilling, writing, just kind of staying busy in general. But I've been working a little bit on Slugger, doing a lot of podcasting, a lot of writing, a lot of kind of talked about it lightly in my other pod, but a little bit of intellectual property right filings, which has been educational and fun, and kind of just securing things that are to come down the pipeline, which is it's a very prudent decision to do so, but it's also something that's just got to get done. And I'm doing some housekeeping. Let's just call it like that. Some intellectual property housekeeping, amongst other things. I've also been chilling, hanging out, watching movies. I'm going to get into Happy Gilmore 2 here in a minute. It was interesting. It was a really good movie. Actually, it was surprisingly good for my expectations. I didn't really know what to expect for it, but I'll hop into that in a second. I've been just kind of reflecting this week on just writing and creative stuff, and sometimes you got to stop and kind of appreciate how much stuff you've actually done. And I've been really, really busy this year, and I really just took a minute to think about it. I was kind of sitting out in the sun, chilling, which sounds like I'm not doing anything, but yeah, I was just sitting there. I'm like, fuck, man, I've been going so hard, and even the podcast. I know I took a 1 month hiatus, and I kind of needed it just to fucking ground myself. I had other shit going on. I need to figure out what I want to do. But now that I'm back and in the full swing, I'm so glad I came back to do it, because I wasn't even questioning should I do it. I was kind of well, I've put out fucking 15 or 16 of these things. I'm do I want to keep on trucking? And the last podcast I put out was something I shot. It was a 15-minute pod, but it's blowing up. It's been my biggest pod yet, and it's something that was just really just commentary on the new South Park. So it's just interesting. I guess I've been reflecting on growth year to date. I wasn't doing this last year, and now it's something I do almost every day. So I've really grown to appreciate just how much work I put in and how much time and effort, and I guess how that's converted to what this has become now, which is really important to do. I think anybody, if you're sitting there thinking fuck, I haven't done anything, I haven't done enough, it's no, you probably have done way fucking more than you think. And it's because you've outgrown that last version of you. You don't feel like that. And I've said this before, but it's you versus you. You're the only person you should be worried about impressing. Friends and family always treat everybody good and always make sure everybody's, whole, but worry about, impressing yourself, because external validation can only go so far and can only get you so much. And at the end of the day, it's really you are alone with yourself, and you need to be okay with who that person is. And I can confidently say whoever I am right now, fuck, man, I look back and I don't even think the other version of me wasn't as good or as great, but it's you can see the personal growth, and that's super important. And it's I think people should talk about that more, just even to yourself. You should think about how much have I done, how far have I come on this journey of life? And that could be anything you're doing. For me, it happens to tie into my filmmaking and content creator kind of journey, I guess. And yeah, I feel I'm doing the work, and I'm reaping the benefits of that work. And it's nice. It's, you get what you give, as they say. And I think it's really important to just stay on your grind and fucking, don't be deterred. I think everybody has their hard days where what am I even fucking doing? Should I even be fucking doing this? I hear most creatives, that's I think of course this makes sense, but it's that's the internal battle all creatives face, is what am I even doing this for? Am I even sailing in the right direction? You might be lost at sea without a fucking compass, but ground yourself, get a reality check, a temperature test. You're probably doing better than you think. And I think that's something that, if you're listening to this or you follow along on Unscripted, that's one of the big messages I've been kind of promoting since the beginning, is you don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to wait for someone to tell you it's okay to do your art or however you want to express yourself. I tend to, talk more into the screenwriting and the filmmaking, directing, cinematography, editing, angle. But I don't care if you're making fucking pottery or you're making jewelry, whatever you're doing, just don't let anyone that you don't respect or that you don't think is doing something on the level you want to be doing it tell you what to do. So you are your own best friend in this game. Learn how to work well with others, learn how to treat yourself good and have self fucking respect. And I think it'll take you pretty far. And most importantly, do the fucking work, because at the end of the day, that's what's really going to matter the most, man, is, for me, it's the blank page. I look at that blank page now and I'm not God, what am I going to write? I'm so afraid. I'm fuck yeah, blank page is a new start, fresh start. I get to do another idea. It's it's the nature of the beast. If you want to get it in this line of work, you need to fucking go hard. You need to work and grind and not take too many days off. You can take a day off, but if you're not really thinking about this when you're out doing other shit, then it may not be for you. And I'm talking about like screenwriting specifically, or like filmmaking, acting, like camera work, whatever your obsession is, whatever your passion is, whatever you want to do in this life, it better be what you fucking, wake up thinking about and go to bed thinking about. And it should drive you a little crazy. You should really feel like, man, if I don't get this, like, not even if I don't get it, you need to think that the window of time is closing. That's the example I'd use. Cause like when you're young, you don't really think about it, but the older you get, especially after 30, you start really thinking like, fuck man, like, do I really want this? Do I want to spend the next 10 years? Do I want to be 40 still chasing this? Do I want to make it? How can I make it? And the real answer is like, start fucking putting in the work. And if you're younger than 30, just find out what you want to do, because your 20s are a weird, turbulent ride. They call it the terrible twos for children. I call it the terrible 20s for adults. Your 20s are tough, dude. Your mind's all over the place. Your emotions are all over the place. You're feeling things and experiencing things that you may have never experienced before. And it can be really confusing, and you can get misled by people that you respect or think might know more than you, or might be an authority on a, business or subject matter that you're interested in. Like, you know what? There's a lot of misinformation out there too. And, I always disclaimer, like, you don't need to fucking listen to me and take my piece of advice on this, but like, I'm trying to save you the time. If you really want to do it, just start doing it. Don't wait. Don't let somebody get in your head and say like, hey, that's not the right way to do it. I had a lot of friends tell me like, well, the way you want to make a movie is not the real way to make a movie. I'm like, okay, well then what the fuck does that even mean? What is the real way? The real way is the way you think I should do it, because you don't have a movie. You never made a movie. What do you fucking know about making movies? And I'm trying to insult people, but I'm saying like, that is a type of toxic mentality that can sideline you, roadblock you, hold you back. If somebody in your crew or your sphere is saying, I don't think, I can't, it won't happen, there's no way you can do that, what you want to do is not possible, cut them fucking out, because that's a mentality that's already lost before they've even tried to win. And if you want to win and you want to play the game of life in general, you need to have a winning mentality first and foremost. So I know I sound a little fired up about this, but it's just something I've been reflecting on. And like, I've wasted a lot of time working with a lot of people that weren't fucking serious, or they didn't want to see it go further than where it was at, or they were okay with their ego being in a place where they felt good about themselves, but seeing you try and not knowing how to get there because they could control you or tell you, no, like, this isn't the right way to do it. Man, let's say goodbye to those people. You don't need them, and they're not going to be people that carry you into the next, chapter of your life where you level up and get bigger and better. And like I said, anything you're doing, any artistic endeavor, follow your heart, do what you believe is the right thing for you to do. And most importantly, like I said, put in the fucking work, the man hours, learn your craft, fail a lot, practice. You want to be somebody who makes beats or music, fucking make a ton of beats. Even if you start out making shitty fucking beats with like samples that you don't like, and like, there's nothing wrong with using samples. There's nothing wrong with using loops. Do whatever you need to do to make that fucking song. Cause you know what? Somebody else has already like gotten through all that experience. They're like, you know what? This drum loop sounds good. This little piano riff I did. Yeah. Maybe it's not the most original, but I like it. It sounds like something else I've heard. You need to just not compromise, but don't worry about somebody else trying to tell you like that wasn't done right or done this way. Like, fuck them. That's the point I'm trying to say. Free yourself of other people's opinions. Free yourself of other people's, viewpoint of you. Because really, like, chances are that person may not stay a big part of your life forever. When you're young, it's hard because you're so connected to everybody that you're meeting through school, through fucking family, through friends, relatives, etc. Like, teachers, authority figures in your just like, your life, baseball coaches, anything, those people won't be there forever. Some will, and that's fine. Those are usually the ones that matter. So that's good. But like, the sooner you can forget about how people, not even forget, but just realize that like, they're probably not thinking about you as much as you think. Other people, or the people that you think are, sitting there spouting wisdom. It's like, dude, if they're the same age as you and they haven't done it, like, they probably don't know. And you can take it for someone who's like a successful person and say like, yes, like maybe if that person, like, I watch a lot of directors talk. I watch a lot of creatives and filmmakers talk. If you think what they're saying is valuable, go ahead and, pick the fruit that they're fucking putting out on their tree. I've done it. I watch a lot of Scorsese. His philosophy on filmmaking is insane. Same with Quentin Tarantino. Think about who's giving the advice. I admire Quentin Tarantino. I admire Martin Scorsese. I think that they have something, they're onto something. Clearly, their movies reflect it. Not just the awards and like the acclaim, but like if you just objectively watch one of their movies, you'd be like, this guy's onto fucking something. These gentlemen understand this medium firmly. Those are the type of people you take advice from, not somebody who's really not on your level and isn't doing it in the way that you're fucking doing it, you know, or not even for you, but like the way you think it should be done, or one of these big dogs. So like, don't let anybody hold you back. Don't let anybody get in your ear and tell you that you're not ready. I had even so many people, like even with Peninsula Nights, I had one producer read the script and say like, maybe we can make this in 10 years. I'm like, 10 fucking years? You want me to give a decade of my life to wait on a maybe we'll make this movie? No. Like, I said, fuck that. I knew right away when the guy told me, I was like, this guy's not fucking serious. I was like, we're going out and we're making this thing. We made it, you know, on our own dime for virtually fucking nothing. We made an entire independent film. We went out, we shot this thing, you know, knit and grit in the streets, no fucking crew, one man, 2 actors. Yeah, there's a few actors here and there on other events, but it was really that simple. We went in and knocked this fucking thing out, and it ended up being a massive victory for us. So, yeah, you just can't let anybody get in your head and tell you no, and you can't let them tell you you can't do it. You just got to go out and fucking take it into your own hands. So, with that being said, yeah, that's kind of my intro rant, I guess. But, yeah, don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. Just go for it, and never fucking settle. If you really want this dream to work out, that's like the most important thing, is trust yourself and trust your vision, and do not let other people get in your head, you know. I also heard, God, who was it? I was listening to Doug Ellen on his podcast talk about how when you're working in Hollywood, you need to have multiple projects, you know. And if you don't know who Doug Ellen is, he is a creator of Entourage. He created the idea. He penned the pilot, as well as he oversaw everything. He was the main writer. There's a lot of great writers on that show, Rob Weiss, amongst others. But anyways, besides the point, you know, he said even for himself, he's like, yeah, like some of the first advice he got when he moved to Hollywood was have multiple projects. Don't bank everything on that one script you wrote, you know. And when you're young, it's hard not to do that, because you're like, this is the script I have. This is the one I put time into, right? But then you get a little bit older and, you know, you write 5 scripts, then you write 10 scripts, then you write 30 scripts, you write 40 scripts, and you're getting close to 100 scripts. You're like, fuck, man, like I forgot I wrote this thing. When you get to that level, and he said he even did that first Entourage pilot, he said he drafted that thing, yeah, probably 50 or 60 times. He said like HBO was just up his ass about it and it drove him crazy. But the result was good. There's no doubt. But like he said, you know, the first thing he wrote could have been just as good. So like it kind of tells you like you don't necessarily need to overthink it. You need to just do the work, figure out what you want to do, have multiple projects. I've been talking about Slugger heavily lately, but there is another project I was working on parallel to that. I was working on Cork. I had this thing lined up. I was going to have the director of California Christmas fucking direct this thing with his whole crew. I was just going to be the writer on this thing and a producer. It's, you know, in turnaround or whatever you want to call it right now. It's not happening at the moment, but it's still, you know, we all talked. It's on the table. That's a deal that I'm working on that. And the reason we're not doing it right now is timing. It's getting too close to the end of the year. He has another project. He's putting out like a Christmas type movie. I think it's a casino heist type movie. I can't remember. He said he's shooting at the Palms in Vegas, but you know, that's one of those projects that like, it's not even like dead. It's just like, hey, like we were going to make this thing independently. Then we got it into this guy's hands. There's conversations going forward that this may mature into the project. It's just, everything takes time. And like, you know, life is a game of chess. You keep moving pieces and making moves. And yeah. So anyways, let's get into the next thing I want to talk about. I finally got to see Happy Gilmore 2. It's finally out. Netflix produced and released this movie. It was obviously Adam Sandler. If you've seen the first Happy Gilmore, which we watched immediately before watching the second, and look, I've seen Happy Gilmore a fucking billion times. That movie was one of those movies that did not leave the DVD player or the VHS player when we were kids. Every kid in America, and probably all the adults around that time too, but like in the 90s, 2000s, Happy Gilmore was a staple. Like I liked it way more than Billy Madison. No hate to Billy Madison, great movie, but like Happy Gilmore, when somebody wanted to watch Adam Sandler, I'm like, Happy Gilmore. Waterboy maybe as well. But like Happy Gilmore was that movie that everyone watched, everyone loved, everyone laughed. Everybody knows who Shooter fucking McGavin is. It was a culturally impactful film, and it left a like lasting mark on people. Like it clearly, like generations of people, if you made those references, they would get it. It was very quotable. It was back when comedies were quotable. It was almost in like, I'd say that category of like say Step Brothers or Talladega Nights, where you go out in public and people would quote those movies, and it was just like part of the fucking, you know, public domain of knowledge. Everyone knew these fucking references. It was so like, I wouldn't call them generic, but they're so universal. Everyone knew them. So yeah, it's just interesting to see like a movie like that get a sequel almost 30 years later. And Let's dive into it. Happy Gilmore 2, directed by Kyle Newacheck. I don't know if you know who Kyle Newacheck is. He did direct Murder Mystery as another Netflix original with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. But that being said, I'm going to go a little further back. Kyle Newacheck, for me at least, was an important figure because not only did I love the show he created with his friends, and you guys will know who it is, but Workaholics. This guy created Workaholics with like Adam Devine and I think it's Anders and Blake Anderson. So the reason I bring him up is because when I was going to the Los Angeles Film School in LA, he was a former student, right? And like when I got there, he had taught in the years before, but he had already like created Workaholics. So like everybody at the school talked about this guy like he was fucking, like the Jesus of fucking LAFS. Everybody loved him. He was like the, proverbial son. But that being said, it didn't feel that far away knowing that somebody who had gone to the film school had just recently had this massive success, right? And Workaholics was still being made while I was there. So like people would kind of talk about this guy like he was this enigmatic figure amongst the school. Like, wow, he's like a little, like the special guy. And like, yeah, sure. Like when you're young, I was like really young, like probably in my 20s, like, well, fuck, like Kyle Newacheck, this guy's got it figured out. And like, I've seen his career like kind of blossom and grow. And it's cool to see that he's gone from like the Workaholics and YouTube content in the backyard to fucking like mega stardom. Like he's directing Adam Sandler movies, not just any Adam Sandler movie. He's directing Happy Gilmore 2. Like I said, Happy Gilmore, the orig, was like a fucking quintessential American comedy. Everybody saw it. And I expected nothing less with Happy Gilmore 2. Everyone's going to see this movie. It has to be done right. This can't be phoned in. It has to be a good movie. It has to be done with a certain amount of integrity and I'd say fan wish fulfillment, to make sure there's a fan service done, that people enjoy the film as much as they enjoyed the first one. And if I had to take my hot take, I'd say it definitely did. It was a very, very sweet film. It had a great, emotional tie. They did a nice parallel to the first one. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but I may disclose some fucking details about the film on here. But yeah, the intro even started out almost equivalent to the original, where it had the, I think it's Tuesday's Gone or whatever, fucking Leonard Skinner and Happy kind of doing the voiceover. And it just fit in perfectly. They did a great job tying together the old with the new and setting up the whole story within the first, 5 minutes of the movie, maybe even less. It was a great intro. And from there on, the ride was smooth. You really got a like version of Happy that was not only believable, but it was plausible that this could be where Happy's story continued. And this is where we pick up with him. And that's the most important thing about a sequel. If you want to talk greatest sequels, maybe Spider-Man 2, Shrek 2, the 2000s was known for great sequels. And I'd say those films, the reason they were so good is they picked up where the story left off, but they built on it so well. And like, Happy Gilmore 2 it's not quite a Spider-Man 2 or a Shrek 2. And let me just say this. Did I think Happy Gilmore 2 was as good as the original film? No. And I think it's a fair thing to say because it's so hard to beat your predecessor when it's Happy Gilmore. It is a tough beat, dude. It's such a good movie. I was watching it with Christine and Stevie, and like Christine hadn't really seen it. She'd like seen us watch it, but like she sat down and really watched it this time, and she was just like, this is so fucking funny. We were laughing the whole time. When you're watching a movie, everybody looks at each other to like, do you see that? That's the type of movie it was. We were all fucking laughing, cackling, and it holds up even 28 years later, however long it's been. They should have just waited for the 30th. It would have made it easy for me. But yeah, so on that note, it definitely fulfilled what I think everybody would have wished a Happy Gilmore 2 would be. Was it perfect? Maybe not, but like, I don't care because what is fucking perfect? My expectations, like, I didn't even watch the trailer for Happy Gilmore 2. I really wanted to be surprised. I wanted to have an experience where, let's say I just, complete going in blind. And that's, I think, the best way to see a movie these days. Even that last Mission Impossible, it was hard not to see Tom Cruise flying around in a biplane because he posted that shit fucking everywhere on social. But at the end of the day, I didn't really look into like what the narrative would be or anything, and it made it better. I went to the theater, I'm like, well, fuck, that was good. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't see the whole movie in the fucking 5-minute Red Band trailer that, shows every beat of the story condensed into 5 minutes. And I think that's like, a good way to go into even watching something that's going to get pushed so heavily on Netflix. And it was hard to avoid it, but like, I did as much as I could. The one thing that does piss me off with new movies now is this movie came out on Instagram, or not Instagram, but it came out this week, and I had to wait like a day or two. Everybody's like, let's wait. Let's not watch it right away. And fuck, man, everyone's posting the photos, behind the scenes, clips from the movie. It's like, dude, just give people a fucking week to watch this shit before you start posting like the fucking, most important scene of the movie or some shit. And thankfully that didn't happen this time, but it's happened on other content. And it's like, give me a break. Just fucking give me a minute. I'm not sorry. I'm not jumping to fucking the sofa to watch this movie like immediately the minute it comes out. So, and there are movies that do that for, but it's like, come on, give people a fucking social media blackout or something, so we don't have to worry about scrambling to see this thing before the spoilers hit. That's like my new pet peeve about movies. It's so accessible. It's so easy to get a clip out and fucking just ruin it. It's like, well, fuck, half the thing about seeing a movie is being surprised or like being like, oh, I wasn't expecting that to happen. So yeah, that's more of a personal issue, I guess. But I don't really care. So where was I? I'm sorry, I got a little fucking notes here. I want to make sure I get names right. I've been doing terrible with names lately, and like I feel like an idiot when I fuck them up. Tim Herlihy and Adam Sandler, those were the writers of this newest Happy Gilmore 2. And I looked up Tim Herlihy, Herlihy, yeah. He's got a funky last name. He's written almost every Sandler movie since Billy Madison. So like this guy has been a staple writer of Adam, co-writer, I'd say. And you know what? It makes sense. He's written many hits. It says here, Billy Madison, The Wedding Singer, Waterboy. There was more than that on the list I read. And, when you have a co-writing partner or something like that, that's not only like help orchestrate a screenplay that is shootable and, screenplay that's worthy of a studio to invest in, but plays out well on the screen and is consistent. And there's I wouldn't call it a continuity, but like a symmetry between these films. Adam Sandler has a brand. It's a universe, the Sandlerverse, right? It's all under the Happy Madison banner. And these two gentlemen, when they write together, something special happens, and they're able to produce a screenplay that's heartfelt, funny, dramatic, and really just usually has a great emotional payoff. I believe he might have been involved in writing 50 First Dates as well, but like some of Sandler's movies cut a little deeper. I understand he has some more slapstick shit, but like the ones that do go a little deeper below the surface and he just digs a little deeper, that's where he shines the most. Adam Sandler is secretly one of the greatest dramatic actors in the world. I think he isn't so secret anymore. Punch Drunk Love was obviously a more dramatic take, his Paul Thomas Anderson outing. And I believe that his film Uncut Gems with Benny Safdie, who ended up appearing as the villain in this new Gilmore, was, Uncut Gems. I feel like Sandler was just terribly, terribly snubbed at the Oscars. That performance was Oscar worthy and arguably one of Sandler's best performances of his career. I also personally think Funny People, Sandler, like maybe it wasn't Oscar worthy, but it was an incredible performance. It's very dark comedy. And like, those are the movies when I think of Adam Sandler that I love his comedy. Don't get me wrong. Like any Sandler, Mr. Deeds, fucking any Sandler movie. I even the shitty Sandler that people might write off. I'm like, yeah, I fucking like it. I watch The Cobbler if it's on, but the ones where he goes a little bit more serious, a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more Indian tone, I think he is, underutilized in that category. Maybe that's because of his agency and maybe he tries to stick to the broad comedy. But if anyone can be surprising when they get into a role that's more dramatic, it's Adam Sandler. And I really hope as he ages and continues to work that he leans more into that dramatic angle of his, because he's just too good not to. Even some of his recent stand-ups, he's just gotten so good at making it more than, it's a special, sure, but like it's a unique show. It's his own brand, and he's become such an interesting artist over the years. And he's been non-controversial. Like Adam Sandler is not here to cause a problem, to get in your face about fucking issues. He's here to just make you laugh and make you feel connected to humanity, I guess. It sounds cheesy, maybe it's a little too deep, but like I think that's Sandler does. He's able to get you in touch with your humanity, make you laugh, maybe make you cry, make you think about life. Think of some of his deeper cuts, like Click. It's obviously funny, but movie cuts deep. It really like makes you think about like existentialism and like how short life is and life can pass you by. And like, those are things that like, I think that's what makes Adam Sandler so good and his brand so good. He transcends comedy by incorporating, dark things that can be hard to talk about, but he makes it palatable and he makes you feel safe going on that journey with him and like kind of diving into the unknown of life, even if it is through the lens of comedy. On the whole, Happy Gilmore 2, I liked it. If I had to say like 10 out of 10, maybe not 10 out of 10, but like 9 out of 10, dude. I laughed the whole time. There's some great cameos too. We had John Daly, the famous golfer. He was hilarious. He plays Sandler's kind of like live-in roommate, Uncle John, his kids know him as, and Sandler's got a gang of kids in the movie. It's really funny. They all have, the guys all take after Happy's like violent antics. And then the girl, of course, she's like sweet and like a ballet dancer and ties into the plot. He's kind of just trying to get money to pay for her because she's like the one non-fuck up kid. You see some other familiar faces in there as well. You see Shooter McGavin. He's back. We have a a lot of familiar faces from the original, almost all. Didn't see, I think his name's Alan Covert. He's a guy who is another writer of Sandler's, but he's also in Grandma's Boy. He doesn't appear in the film as he did originally, was Otto, the caddy that had the beard. He didn't really speak in the first Happy Gilmore, but you know him. He's the bum that was like washing his window. Don't know why he didn't appear in the film. Maybe it was personal, or maybe it was just the script didn't call for it. His character's kind of like, he was in the last scene. He made it all the way to the end of the original from just watching it recently. But yeah, I don't know. He didn't appear. I'm a fan of his because I thought Grandma's Boy was a heavily influential, but also slept on film of the 2000s. It was very big on DVD. Everyone saw it after it was in theaters. I remember theatrically it didn't do well, but it ended up becoming a cult comedy hit. And like, you know, it had a lot of stars in it. Jonah Hill, other people. I know Peter Dante's in it, a couple other folks. But yeah, you know, I just think Happy Gilmore 2 on a whole, it did a lot of like, I say wish fulfillment, fan service. It gave you everything you really wanted to see in a Happy Gilmore. Oh, you know who else was in it? Was good. I don't want to not mention him. Was Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny's an interesting guy. You know, I know he's a Puerto Rican star. He's, you know, come a long way through the film world. What did I see him? I saw him in Bullet Train. He was really good in Bullet Train. He played kind of like more macho, tough guy. Kind of, I'd say a parallel to his reggaeton persona. Maybe I actually don't know his reggaeton persona that well, but I'm imagining he's like kind of more like the tough guy, gets girls, gets money type dude. And like, that's cool. But seeing him in this role, he played something just more like downplayed. He played like, it was like Travis Kelce, I believe, was the waiter at the country club, and he played the busboy to the waiter at the country club. And he played it so well. He was so funny. And it was funny to see him in a more like mischievous, but also like, I wouldn't even call it submissive position, but he wasn't trying to be a tough guy. And it was interesting to see him do that because honestly, he was so funny in comparison to being like the tough guy. Like, it was cool to see him up against Brad Pitt playing like, you know, like tough guy and fucking Bullet Train. But no, like, it was refreshing to see him lean into comedy. And honestly, I think if he has a future in anything, he should lean into comedic acting. He was really fucking funny. He was actually one of the better characters of the movie. And hats off to Bad Bunny. I thought he did a great job. You know, I was actually impressed by his comedic timing and like his just, he was funny. I don't know how else to say it. There's also some other cameos in there. Swartzen, he comes in as kind of like an old version of like the guy who could slam the ball like Happy, where, God, it's too much plot, but like it ties in, you know. There were some cool podcast things too. You got to see like Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino. They kind of like it's like a meta blend. They bring him in to their podcast where like I think Happy's appearing on their podcast. And it's interesting. Or no, it's Benny Softy's character appearing on their podcast. But it's like, it also showed you kind of how media's changed. Like, they weren't going on the Tonight Show or any of that shit. They were appearing literally on the fucking podcast. That was the modern press in the movie even. And it just shows you like the times have changed, dude. We're in the fucking content creation era where like podcasters are the voice. Podcasters are the media. Independent journalism's at a high. And to see it even reflected in like something in the highest form like Netflix and Happy Gilmore, it just shows you where the times are headed, you know. I'm not going to get into the media and shit like that, but like legacy media, yeah, like the way people get information and stuff was even like dictated in this film in a different way. They're not showing like how it used to be, and like Happy wasn't going on with fucking Katie Couric or some shit, you know. It was very like, he's here with Bobby Lee and Santino and they're going to talk and blah, 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 blah. It just made a lot of sense the way they did it. And I really liked, I guess like for as modern as it was, which like is hard when you grew up at the time we grew up, like if you're a millennial or in your like late 20s, 30s, because, and even older than that, because you remember what it used to be like. And you're always kind of like nostalgic for like, oh, I remember it used to be like, you just turn on the news or like, and now like, it's just like the shift has been so big. This is also a little like more of a ridiculous thought, but I kind of think like decades work in like 2020, right? We had COVID and all that. And like the past 5 years have kind of moved into what 2025 is now. Is like, I think the decade really starts in the middle of the decade. I know it sounds ridiculous, but like old trends are out of style. New styles are in. Ideologies have changed. Cultural shifts are happening. Like big shifts are happening. Media is changing. It all happened really in the last 4 to 5 years. And it happened just like right when 2020 started. I think that's what people think. It's like, you know, when you look back at like the 50s, 60s, 70s, haircuts, how culture changed, like, you know, one decade's this, one decade's that. I think like the shift really happens around the halfway mark, and we're feeling it right now. Just so many things that used to be in are out, and so many things that used to be out are in, I guess, you know. And this is like more of an observation about like how the times are changing. But yeah, so on the whole, Happy Gilmore 2, not a bad flick at all. Really impressed by Kyle Newacheck's directing. Adam Sandler was great. Hilarious fucking performance all around. I think everybody did a good job. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it on Netflix. You know, if you want a good laugh, I think it might be the best comedy in a long time. And I also think this. I think people need to just laugh more. We need to get back to just fucking going and seeing something and not worrying about it being so epic or dramatic or over the top. You know, like I like to be impressed by a movie for sure, but like right now I think like the world just needs to laugh and heal and fucking enjoy something funny. And I think Adam Sandler knows that. And I think Happy Gilmore 2 is right on time. People need to just come together and laugh and enjoy the moment, you know, and not be distracted by this and that. And like I hope culture is moving back towards a place where we can all, you know, have that connectivity, which I feel like we, you know, have had in the past, but like I even talk about like communal viewership and stuff. Like there's nothing like watching a movie with a full house or like a group of people. There's something about the energy where if, you know, even somebody yelled something out during a movie and made a joke, you would feel connected because you're like, yeah, like we're all experiencing this at the same time. I'm right there with you. So yeah, it's a little bit more of a spiritual wish, but like, you know, I think that comedy and just even the way this movie, it was not, there was no agenda served. It was just trying to be funny and trying to make people laugh, and it didn't want to hurt anybody. And I think that's a great thing. Anyways, guys, that's my piece on Happy Gilmore 2. If you haven't seen it, go watch it on Netflix. I laughed a fucking bunch. I thought it was one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. And yeah, go catch it. All right, guys, I'm Devin Thomas, and this has been another episode of Unscripted. I'll talk to you next week.